Looking at all the hostile faces around him, Dustin smiled an imperceptible cold smile. They really didn't know what was good for them. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have saved anyone. Now, he not only ended up failing to get into anyone's good books but even brought trouble unto himself. How unlucky. Why so quiet, Dustin? Is it because you're feeling too guilty, so you don't dare to speak a word? Quentin said aggressively. He looked as if he wanted to get to the bottom of things. You've already said everything there is to be said. What else can I say? Dustin snorted and continued, I saved your lives, but you keep insisting that I poisoned you and speaking so self-righteously. I've never met anyone as ungrateful as you bunch. Humph. How dare you still defend yourself? Quentin's gaze was icy as he said, if you didn't poison us, then why don't you explain why you have the antidote? That's right. Why would you have the antidote? Everyone started demanding loudly. The incident was too much of a coincidence. It was difficult for people not to be suspicious. I'm a doctor, and I'm also proficient at medicine. Isn't it normal for me to cure you guys from the poison? Dustin said plainly. I can vouch that Dustin is indeed a very skillful doctor, Natasha said firmly. Me too, Ruth added. They believed firmly in Dustin's medical skills and character. Fine, even if you're a doctor and happen to have the antidote, then tell me why you didn't get poisoned. Don't tell me it's because you have a strong immune system, so no poison can harm you, Quentin demanded. You're right. I am indeed immune to all poison, Dustin said seriously. With his capabilities, common types of poison had no effect on him. Even the deadly slithers poison, one of the most infamously lethal types of poison, only made him sleep for a while. Did you guys hear that? What a ridiculous excuse. Quentin scoffed and said coldly, Dustin, oh Dustin, you're such a good liar. You're also human like all of us, so what gave you the audacity to say that you're immune to all poison? Pete. Immune to poison? Sounds like bullshit to me. I know, right? Only the person who poisoned us could come up with such a ridiculous excuse. Don't waste any more time on him. Hurry up and hold him down so we can interrogate him. The crowd flew into a furious uproar. They obviously did not believe Dustin. Dad, you're the head of the family, hurry up and say something. Seeing that the situation was going sideways, Natasha immediately turned to her father. Hector frowned, not knowing what to say. Although he believed that Dustin was innocent, he couldn't treat a threat to the whole family's life lightly. Most importantly, there were still suspicions surrounding Dustin, which made it hard for him to decide. Hector, let me handle this, Trent said. I've been in charge of the safety and security of the family all along. Since something like this has happened, I should carry out a thorough investigation regardless of whether Dustin is innocent. Dad's right. For the family's safety, we should always be safe rather than sorry. Men, detain him, Quentin commanded with a swift gesture of his hand. Yes, sir. A group of the Harmon family's guards stepped forward and surrounded Dustin. They had already drawn their swords. Stop! Natasha shouted in anger. If anyone dares to act rashly, don't blame me for being ruthless. Natasha, you have to look at the bigger picture, Trent said sternly. If Dustin is innocent, then I will surely clear his name. I will not condemn him. What's the difference between condemning him and arresting him in public? Natasha said with a frown. I only require his cooperation in the investigation. I guarantee that I will not hurt him. He's right, Natasha. This is a very serious matter that warrants a thorough investigation. I'm afraid we'll have to trouble Dustin a little this time. Jessica said. Why don't you trouble yourself? I don't care, but nobody touches Dustin today. Natasha didn't give in at all. In her eyes, no one was more important than her man. Even if he was guilty, she would still defend him till the end, much less when he was being wronged right then. Nonsense. Jacob's temper flared, and he shouted, how can a junior like you meddle with such an important family matter? Someone take Miss Harmon back to her room. Yes, sir. Mrs. Davies and the others dared not show any hesitation. They half dragged, and half persuaded Natasha out of the banquet hall. Witnessing this scene, Dustin frowned. He had wanted to take action a few times already, but he had controlled himself. The Harmon family's ways already ignited his anger. No one's going to help you now, Rhys. Quentin took 2 steps forward and gave a low laugh. I already asked you to leave earlier, but you just didn't want to listen to me. Look where it's gotten you now. You regret it, don't you? I'm not the person who poisoned you, Dustin tried to explain. Is that important? If I say that it's you, then it's you. Quentin laughed coldly. So you're condemning me on purpose? Dustin asked with a frown. Being suspected was one thing, but being condemned was another. So what if I am? Quentin had on an amused expression. Everyone needs an explanation anyway, and making you the culprit will please everybody. What's the matter? You feel very wronged, don't you? Very dissatisfied? But what can you do? In this world, power comes above everything else. A pariah from the lowest rungs of society like you deserves to be a scapegoat. Just accept your fate. With that, he turned around and bellowed, lock him up and torture him till he owns up. If he dares to retaliate, then kill him at once. Yes, sir. Hearing his command, the Harmon family's guards acted immediately. Get lost. Dustin rocked his body, and a potent wave of energy sent countless guards flying. How dare you still resist? This just shows that you definitely have something to be guilty of. Guards, heed my command. Kill the culprit immediately. Quentin laughed wickedly and gave the kill order. At once, a wave of elite guards surged into the banquet hall from all directions. Do you really want to take things to the extreme? Dustin asked icily. Humph, anyone would kill a traitor like you. Kill him. Quentin said pompously. The moment he said that, a figure flashed before him. Dustin's arm shot out suddenly, and he gripped Quentin by the neck, lifting him into the air with just one hand. He looked like he was holding a dying fish. How dare you? This is preposterous. Seeing what was happening, the Harmon family members all shouted in shock. Nobody thought Dustin would still dare to attack while he was already being surrounded. You imbecile. Let go of my son now. Hector shouted furiously. However, he dared not act rashly for fear that Quentin would get hurt. He is undoubtedly the culprit. We must not let him go. The crowd went into a furious uproar when they saw Dustin attacking someone. Ha ha ha. Hey, kid. You've pissed everyone off. Nobody can save you now. Quentin laughed mirthlessly and said confidently. If you have common sense, let me go at once. I could still spare your life. But if you dare touch a hair on my head, I can promise I'll make you die a painful death. Really? Dustin snorted and tightened his grip aggressively. With a loud snap, Quentin's head lolled sideways. He died on the spot before he knew it.